About Joe. That was a good one.
And
Oh, yeah.
we're live.
We're
Episode
back
number
live.
9 with our guest, Colin Berardini, lead guitarist for Living Rooms, and, as I was corrected the first time, the founder. The founder
of the most non-existent band ever.
Dude, you guys got more not an impact, but you got more of a following than you think you do, man. A lot of my friends like it.
Yeah.
They like it.
Well, you're
dude.
like the number one promoter.
I am the number one promoter.
Since we're sleeping on social media, we post like one thing every 3 months about the band. Or
I'm
about
always
whatever.
posting shit. I'm like, yo, give us more.
Yeah.
Well, I'm trying to hype you guys up because that's what it is, right?
Right.
Like, you know.
Yeah, no, it's all what it's all about, word of mouth, and I mean, otherwise, how do you find out about anything? You know, a friend
Exactly.
likes something, a friend's got a friend. You know what I mean? It's all.
And how many times does that happen where it's like, and then, you know, I hate to use this analogy because it's music, but like John Lennon and Paul McCartney like turned each other on to so many different kinds of music.
Right. Absolutely.
And that led to the Beatles.
Yeah.
Like, you know, those things happen.
Music's a crazy thing.
Yeah, man. No, I mean, you're the one who was telling me about it. I'm like, no, they're really good in practice. Like, they're jamming out, and you showed me before they even had a singer, like, all the music that they had, and especially after they got the singer, like, lyrics and all that, and it sounded great. And I'm like, no, like, they're not just like your average like local band. Like, they're really good.
Mm-hmm.
And I was really like the sound, man. I really do.
Thank you.
So how did you get into music before we get too much in the living rooms?
How did I get into music?
Yeah. Like, was it a family member or was there always this desire for you to rock it?
As far as playing music, there was never really any interest, any desire. No one that I can think of in my family has ever played an instrument, at least, you know, in my lifetime. When I first got into music, rap was actually like a pretty big thing to me. Old school rap.
Nelly?
Yeah, like Nelly.
Nelly.
And I remember listening to like Mace and like Puff Daddy before it was P. Diddy, you know, the family.
Right.
Listening to that stuff and old Jay-Z and coming home with these albums, and my mom would be like, what is this stuff that you're listening to? Like, what is this? And I'm trying to justify it. Like, it's not all that bad, but it was pretty terrible.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
my dad got me into that, and it was like, I don't know, it was kind of like a phase or whatever. My parents weren't like big into like music. And, you know, they weren't like 80s rock people or like 90s or whatever. They just kind of did a little bit of everything, top 40 kind of stuff. So like I never really had like a wicked desire to play music. But probably the first actual album that I got was Enema of the State by Blink-182, which any kid anywhere close to our age can pretty much relate to. That was one of the first ones I got, and probably one of the most influential albums that I've ever owned. But even then, I mean, we're talking probably 5th, 6th grade, and I didn't pick up a guitar until I was a freshman. So we're talking 4 years later or so. So I mean, definitely got me big into music and kind of like reading into things more, but not as far as playing would go. So that was that's pretty much.
So how many? Because I know you mentioned before to us, you know, off camera, that you were in a couple other bands like before, like
Yeah.
just being younger, you know, some good, some bad.
Yep.
How many would you say you were in before?
Oh,
Living
Jesus.
Rooms?
Well,
I want to hear some names because
You wanna hear
names
some
of
names?
like
Okay.
small bands are sick. Like,
you're not even gonna remember this. Okay, so I think the first band I was in was called Red Letter Day.
nope.
And, I mean, we're talking 2003, 2004. Me and a couple guys went to Notre Dame.
Shout out to Notre Dame.
Yeah, right. Ultimately, how I got turned on to all of this. Hater?
Well, he's a Blue Devil, you know, it's the rival.
All right, I understand.
I'm sorry that we had to bring 2 Damers on today. Usually we only have one, but
The
we had to bring 2.
podcast got
so.
way better today,
Oh, my
purely for that reason alone.
For that reason.
All right, just tell your
Now
story.
it's 2-1. Okay,
Just
so
tell your
anyway,
story.
That's ultimately how I got turned on to music. Came across some really good friends that got me into it. You know, picked up my first guitar and stuff. Do you want to hear the story about my first guitar?
Yeah. Hell yeah.
So my first guitar. So my dad opened a redemption center way back when. I mean, we're talking like freshman year, 2003, 2004, somewhere in there. And the deal was I was going to work for him, and he was going to buy me a guitar. And I wasn't going to get paid for the first little while. It was going to be, I was going to work to pay off this guitar.
Right.
So, like, looking back, I got like $1.50 an hour to get this guitar, but I didn't care because I wanted it. I had to have it. And I'd been in and out of Roxy's back when they were in the mall in Batavia.
Oh, okay.
And they used to have some really, really cool stuff. And I'm looking $500, $600, $700, $800, and I'm like, nah, this isn't gonna work. So Sam Goody, when it was in town, they used to have like starter packs, and you know how it was. I mean, they had a little bit of everything. So there was this black Squire guitar that I had to have. It was a Stratocaster. Squire's made by Fender. It was a very entry level Strat. So I'm like, this is the one I want. It came with an amp. It came with a Strat, picks, a book, cable, everything you needed, like in this box. So we go in, we look at it. This is the one. This is the one I'm gonna work for free for. So I get home. My dad had dropped me off. So I'm ready to dig into this thing, and I open up the box, and it's just the amp and like the accessories. There's no guitar in it. So here I am looking at this box, thinking I'm gonna shred on this thing. And my idea of shred back then was like single notes, single. Basically, yeah, yep. That actually sounded a lot better than me for like the first month. But there's no guitar in this box, so I had to sit there for the night and just wait it out. And eventually we got it, and I got going. And Seven Nation Army by the White Stripes was the first, I say song, and I'm not saying full song. I could play like 4 notes of that song, and that was the first one that got me into it. And then from there on out, it would be learn a little bit more guitar tabs and that kind of stuff. And
so let me ask you this then: did you get lessons to learn how to play, or did you just?
I actually never did the lessons thing. I was
Wow.
one of those kids that was never persistent. If I was into something, if it didn't come easy, I was done. So I just had some good friends that were into it, that had been into it for a lot longer than myself, and just through watching them and playing with them and listening to music, and ultimately guitar tablature was what got me going. I couldn't read music, still can't. I know a little bit more now than I did then, but guitar tabs are basically just showing you where to put your fingers and what to count and what to strum. And that eventually was what would get me like, all right, well, maybe this isn't so bad. Like separating the fact that you don't have to know like a ton of theory to like be able to play an instrument. A lot of it just comes kind of just from feel and just really persistence. And that was one of the first times I'd actually like gotten big into something and stuck with it, because I had given up so much. I mean, I signed up to play football when I was in 8th grade, quit. Ended up playing football in high school and did better than I would have expected. But I had never stuck with anything, and this was one of the first things, and now it's been, like 14 or 15 years, and it's still more prevalent than ever. I took some time off here and there, but
Well, it sounds like you found more of like a passion.
Oh yeah,
really love.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Because it was just that thing that I could do, and it was something that I did differently. Because there was bands were popular and people wanted to do that, but I didn't really have a ton of friends that did it. So like it was something that I could do just kind of on my own, separate myself from whatever's going on and just do my thing. So
Nice.
I've known you for about a year now, and we're not like best buds. Like I don't know everything about you.
yeah,
You're always the music guy to me. You're the music guy. What
weird.
else do you do? Like
What else
I
do
know
I
you're
do?
married.
Right. Yep, I'm married. I've been married. Morgan is my wife. She's great. She puts up with all my bullshit, which I don't know how.
Jesus.
I can't even put up with my own bullshit sometimes, but she's been there. We've been together 6 years. We've been married for a little over 2 now. November is 2. We got a baby on the way coming in
Congratulations.
Congrats,
July.
dude.
So yeah, thank you. I really appreciate that. And as far as work goes, for the past 10 years, I've been delivering beer. The Budweiser guy.
Nice.
A lot of people look at me and they look at how small I am and how frail I appear to be. But now I've been doing that, and it's a good gig. I enjoy doing it. Kind of sucks in the wintertime, but that's what I do. And we live out in Byron. Grew up in Batavia. Lived in Buffalo for a little bit. Met my wife then. My wife now, then met her, and ended up we moved back to Batavia for a little bit. We ended up getting our own place in Rochester for a while. Now we bought a house in Byron this past summer, so we're pretty much back local. And it's my little
It's always funny,
whatever.
right? Can never, even when people like move away, it seems like everybody always kind of gravitates back towards
everyone
this area.
gravitates back, and there's
Yeah.
like
Trap.
what is going on? There's not like a ton going on, but
No,
it's
but it seems-
comforting
it's
in
funny,
that you
right?
know it.
Right, exactly.
It's just-
It's what happened with me. Like, we did a couple episodes of The Spot, knowing that I was moving to Pittsburgh.
for like
And I've
a day and a half.
I've said my whole life that I've always wanted to get the fuck out of Batavia.
We had like a going away party for you, didn't we? Did we go out and like have drinks and then you were back like 2 days later?
Probably.
Probably.
Not to like call you out. But
No, dude. You
No, I had a,
you
I had
have
a
no idea how
very
much
nice,
flack I've caught for
heartfelt
this.
post on Instagram
right.
that I was just like, put it out there, and 2 days later he's back.
It
I
had
was like,
4
I love
likes
it, though.
before he was back.
I know, right?
That's not for lack of popularity. That's just for lack of time. Like you
Yeah.
were back.
But I
Joe's
thought
like he's back.
I thought I was
Right.
gone, dude.
He's back.
Like
Yeah.
that's all I've ever wanted to
Everyone's
do.
back.
Like me and him have been best friends
Yeah.
forever. He's heard me say that, especially when I went to
Mhm.
college and met people and moved
Right.
away and came back. I was like, yo,
Pittsburgh's a cool place.
dude, Pittsburgh's super cool.
I've been quite a few times, and for you to come back.
Well, you know, dude, I don't really know what it was, but the day before I went to move was Taylor and Sean's wedding, so I think that had something to do with
okay.
it too.
Mm.
But I woke up, you know, I was so pumped, and then the morning of the day I went to move, I woke up,
Mhm.
and I literally, I'll admit it, I sat on the front stairs and I just started crying. I was like, dude, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. Like, it just hit me.
Right.
And my parents were like, yo, you don't gotta go. And I was like, no, I gotta go. So
You
I
convinced
I
yourself
drove
you had to
down, and the whole way there, I wanted to turn around. Like, I pulled over a couple times, and I was like, dude, do you want to do this, or do you not want to do this? And all it was just my family. Like, I'm super tight with my little
Right.
brothers.
Yeah, for
Like,
sure.
they're my best friends in the world. Like, I want to,
Yeah.
you know, do stuff with them. So I was there for 2 days, and I was just bugging out those whole 2 days, and I
Yeah.
was like, nope, not for me. So I told my
Turn it
boss on
around.
day number 2, I was like, yo, I'm out, motherfucker.
You were there long enough for your back to stop hurting, so you could turn around and come back.
Yep,
That's pretty much what it was.
yep.
Yeah, it
That's
took a
cool.
nice little weekend getaway at Pittsburgh.
There
Is
you
what
go.
it really
But it
turned
was cool with
into.
me, because now I get to see living rooms play.
Hell yeah.
Jesus.
No, but see, I've never had that desire to like leave. I don't know why. I feel like I'm like the only one. A lot of times, where I'm just I never really had because I knew like for me at least it's like family's here. Like everybody I
Right.
care about and love is
Right.
here. It's, like,
Family is important, you know, and you're just
Yeah.
content, and there's nothing wrong with being content. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's just you know it.
right.
It's comfortable. You know, there's not a whole lot going on, but whatever. It's home.
Right. It's because I don't know. To me, it's just like as long as you're with the people you care about, then that's what
Right.
life's all about.
For
So
sure.
That's deep, man. Wow.
yeah.
That was
no, because
deep.
it's just in high school. How many people just talk it's like, oh, I can't wait to get the hell out of here. I'm gonna move.
Right.
You know, insert really warm location. Right. Like that's what it always was. Like
Yeah.
somewhere super
Yeah,
warm.
I
and
couldn't
it's
wait
not
to get out of here. I went to GCC for a semester,
Mhm.
and it was the first day of the second semester, and I pulled up, and it was like snowing sideways, and I had to park like way at the back, and I was like, you know what, this isn't for me, and I'm not even kidding. I literally pulled up. I couldn't park close, and I'm like, I'm done with this shit. I got home and I told my mom, I'm like, I'm not going back. She's like, I hope you got a plan. And I'm like, yeah, I got a plan. I had a part-time job at the time. I ended up sticking it out for a little bit, and then I jumped ship, and I'm, you know, still at the same spot. But
Bailed on G-Dub because he didn't want to walk across the parking
But
lot.
it's just funny though. That, like that's the realization. You're like,
right.
no,
I told
this
you guys
isn't it.
about persistence and how I'm not a persistent person,
Mhm.
and that was one of those situations that.
So we've gotten Joe's take on how Living Room came about. I want to hear your take because you're the founder. You're the godfather of it all.
Don't talk about it like that. Please don't.
You
Because I
are.
heard
It's your
Joe talk
baby.
about me as the daddy of all creators, and I'm like,
The
absolutely not.
daddy of all daddies.
Yeah.
Sure,
Shred
I'm going
master
to be a
Colin.
dad.
I think he was talking about the beard too, though. He's like, the
I think that's what it was.
It
Was the beard.
It was the beard. Oh, Jesus, Joe. How did living rooms come to be? So there's going to be a lot of I and me talk when we talk about like how living rooms came to be, because it really started as just like I had taken a little bit of time off for music. I had like sold all my stuff. We were like had gotten an apartment. I had a drum set. I had so many guitars, but we didn't have like furniture. We didn't have anything. So I eventually like sold a bunch of my stuff. Music had kind of taken a backseat. So I pretty much had nothing left. And then I just kind of on a whim, I was on Pure Volume, which is a music website. I don't know if you're familiar with. That was very big when I was in high school. And that's how we found like all those cool bands that we, you know, became to love. And I just took a shot. I'm like, I wonder if this is still like a relevant site. And I got on there, and it was. I came across some bands that now I've become to love. And I got on there, and I was just listening to this music, and like I kind of gotten sick of like everybody kind of like changed the ways, like they kind of went electronic or a little more, they just went a different direction, a little more alternative, indie, whatever. And I'd found some bands that were like still playing the music that I liked back then that got me into music. So I started listening more, and I'm like, you know what, I think I want to give this a go again. So it was my birthday, and I told Morgan, I'm
What
like,
year?
This is probably 2014, I think it was.
Okay.
Yeah, it was August of 2014. I get this guitar, and that, for whatever reason, it just like kind of inspired me to like, I'm gonna start writing music again. So I get the computer out, I get GarageBand going, I'm sitting down, I got it set up at our like dining room table in our apartment, and I'm just coming up with some riffs, and I start just hammering these things over and over and over. And Morgan's like, will you just stop? Will you just stop with the same thing over? I'm like, this is the process. You lay something down, and it just goes on and on and on. So we were kind of butting heads for a little bit of that, and then eventually, it took me a while to get like a couple of songs that like I kind of thought were really cool. And then next thing you know, I had like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Next thing you know, I got like 10 or 12 songs, and I'm like, these are pretty cool. But I'm like, I don't know anyone that's local still that I played with that still plays, or I never thought it would come to be anything. So it was just like a hobby of mine, you know. I can't really sing, so I couldn't really make anything of it. I would just write music, and that was like my little outlet. And eventually I started showing some friends some of this music, and they were like, you know, that's pretty cool stuff. Maybe you should do something with it. I'm like, again, with the persistence thing, I'm like, it's gonna be too much work. I'll never make anything happen. And then I know Joe talked about Ben Gray, who was a kid, great friend, still a great friend. He lives in Florida, and I played in bands with him for years, and he had came and went numerous times. Florida, he'd be back. He'd go to Florida, he'd come back, and we talked about like, let's get this band thing going. And he was like, yeah, you know, maybe. And he kind of went off into his own thing, like got into like jazz and blues and stuff, and which is great, you know. That's the thing about music. You can listen to whatever you want, and it's whatever, it's your thing. And so he kind of been like, yeah, I don't really know if that's still the stuff that I'm interested in playing. And, you know, I was writing music that was similar to the stuff that I had always liked, and the stuff that I found was still like relevant. So we kind of gone back and forth, and he wasn't really super interested. And we went out one night, and it was me and Joe and Ben, my wife, her sister, her brother, my brother. We went out. My dad ended up being out with us, and we got back that night, and we were just hanging out in the patio, and we had kind of talked about music a little bit. And I always knew that Joe like play guitar or whatever, and I showed him some of what I was working on, and he was like, dude, he's like, I know what you're trying to do here. And I was like, just, you know, a little something I put together. And he was very like, dude, this is really cool stuff, this is really cool. And he kept like talking it up, and we were out there, you know, it was my sister-in-law and my brother, and we kept talking about it, and they were like, maybe you should pursue this. And ultimately we did. And that's, I mean, kind of how Living Rooms came to be. It started as my project was called The Iron Giant, which was named solely after the movie The Iron Giant. I was just trying to find like a deeper meaning to what I was working on. And like, I was thinking, all right, you know, here I am. I'm a beer guy. I got this girl. She wasn't my wife at the time. I got this, you know, serious girlfriend. We're doing all these different things, but like I can find myself in music. So like the big theme of that movie, The Iron Giant, was, you know, you can be anything you want to be. And is ultimately that was like, you know, that sounds pretty cool to me. Like, you do this during the day, this is your job, this is the life you're living, but you can just kick back, you can do music, and like no matter what life has in store for you, you can always like just do your thing. And that was music. So that's kind of how that came to be. And then, I mean, the rest is just it's been a year and a half of of a journey of trying to get the right people at the right time. And a year and a half later, we played one show, which isn't saying much.
Where'd you guys play?
We played at a do-it-yourself venue in Buffalo. It was called Sugar City. It's like an art expo. They do like stand-up and stuff.
It's on Niagara Street.
It's on Niagara Street, right by the Resurgence Brewery.
Yeah, and Resurgence, yeah.
We played one show, but to us it was a pretty monumental time in that we hadn't really found a singer. We just decided to get up there and just do our thing, and we got some good feedback.
Joe sang.
Joe
Really?
sang.
He
Joe
didn't do bad.
And
Like,
I sang backup. He did pretty good. He worked really hard, and I give him a lot of props.
He did, dude.
I mean, that takes
he was
balls
into
to go
it.
up there.
Oh, absolutely.
He was into it, dude. Like for
Yeah.
a month or two, because they were
Right.
struggling to find someone to sing. Like
Yeah,
they went
right.
through 3 or 4 guys that they brought on, but these guys just kept bailing on him for whatever reason.
Right.
You know, that they had going on with their lives. So Joe was like, "Fuck it, dude. I'm just gonna do this." So
He
you know,
fucking-
Joe
he
starts
dug
looking
in.
up stuff on YouTube.
Yeah.
On the internet.
He's doing vocal warm-ups. He's drinking all these funky teas. But I give him
Dude.
credit, too, because you know what? I would have never said, I'm just going to do it. And I had been in bands, and I didn't want to get up there and just sing, and not that I really could have, but he was just like, fuck it, let's do it. So I give him a lot of credit because we had some struggles. He was having a hard time finding confidence, and he would look for me for, positive feedback.
Direction.
And I was just, we weren't exactly where I wanted to be, so I had a really hard time with it. Yeah. But had he not done that, we never would have played a show. We made a lot of cool friends that night. That place was packed
you guys crushed. I thought you guys did.
It was a really good time.
I loved it.
It turned out to be a pretty cool show. Mm-hmm. So to say that we've only played a show over the last year and a half, it's kind of underwhelming. But it's being in a band is harder when you're an adult. We've come to discover, we all work different shifts. We all work different jobs, different places. I work in Buffalo. Joe works in Batavia. Matt works with me. Matt is now our singer. He works with me. He works overnights. Currently working day shifts. So we're trying to have a good little run here. But and then there's Andy, which no one really knows what Andy does, but we know he's available twice a week.
He's a physical therapist.
He's
really. Andy's a smart dude.
Yeah, he does something with fitness, and he does a lot of coaching and stuff. Which Andy's awesome. Andy's an awesome drummer, and
he's a nice guy, dude.
He's a great guy.
He's a
great guy. He's a goofball, but we make it work, and it's been a long road, like I said.
A talented drummer, though.
Oh my God, absolutely.
Dude, you sit there at their band practice and you watch him, and it's like.
But I really like Matt's though. I think we were talking about it a little earlier. Like his voice though, specifically for that sound. For,
absolutely, and that's why
perfect.
The thing with Matt is so I've now been where I work for the better part of 10 years, and Matt had worked there for he's now been there full time for I don't know, a couple years, but he had worked there on and off in different departments, and I had come across him once 4 or 5 years ago when I was at work and I saw him and we crossed paths, and I'm looking at this dude, I'm like, this dude looks like he's in a band. So I did a little bit of research, and I found out that he was in this really good band. And I was thinking maybe there are more people that still play music. Maybe I just gotta look further than Batavia and the people that I know.
Right.
So we I crept on him a little bit, and he was in this band, and they were touring and stuff, and he was working on and off, and so I'm I knew that this kid could sing, and he's just super talented. So eventually he came to work in the department that I work in. So just kind of in passing, hey, what's going on, man? What's going on? How you doing? Just kind of super casual talk. And
do you want to be in my band?
Yeah, right. I'm thinking that in my head. And it's actually kind of funny because my brother also works with me, and so they work on the same shift. So they were working side by side. And I was talking to my brother about Matt, and I'm like, yo, this kid's in a band. I need him in my band. So
figuring out how can I get
my brother. My brother said that I courted him because I hit him up on Facebook, and I was literally a guy DMing a girl. That's how it felt. And I'm trying to in as few words as possible, trying to say you have to sing in my band. So I ended up sending him I gave him a physical disc of 10 songs that I had worked on that I was the most proud of from my Iron Giant project, whatever. And I gave it to him, and he just had this look on his face oh, this is going to be freaking brutal. Here I am, bald, blue collar, rough around the edges, and he just looks at me. He gives me this look, and he won't admit it, but he gave me this look this is just going to suck. So he ends up listening to it, and he's like, dude, this was really, really good. And my brother told me that when he had gotten the CD for me, that he was I really didn't think that your brother could do music, and this is really good stuff. So I tried getting him right then and there, but he was still trying to find his way. New job, just doing his own thing, got a girlfriend, trying to, make everything work. Mm. So it took a really, really long time. We ended up becoming really good friends. We jammed a few times, and we always just had this. We gelled, with our creativity and just our interest in music and stuff. And it was just a really long road. So we'd play together for a little bit. He'd express a lot of interest. We'd stop for a long time. We'd play together. We'd stop. So ultimately, we were it was me, Joe, Andy, and Zach Fay was our bass player at the time. And we decided that we were just gonna, we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it. So we ended up getting everything together. We ended up playing a show. We ended up recording a 3-song demo with Joe and I singing, and back then we were this is pretty cool, but looking back, it was not cool. It was not pretty cool.
Garbage.
So we we put it out. We put one song out, The Wall in the Window, which will be on our EP when that releases, and that's coming out very, very soon. Set to probably drop on Friday, depending on getting it all together, getting it on Spotify, getting it on iTunes, but it's looking like Friday's going to be the day. And
Friday, when your lives get changed, people.
February
The EP
3rd.
comes out.
Friday.
February 3rd.
I think it's the 2nd.
The 2nd, okay.
Is it the 2nd or is
the
it the 3rd? Friday's the 3rd. I think Friday's
29th is tomorrow. 30th is. You're right.
31 days in January.
You're right.
It's the 2nd. It's Groundhog Day.
You're right.
So we're about to hit you with this CD.
The 3rd is a Saturday.
So please treat the EP like Groundhog Day and just go through the same thing over and over.
You should change the name
Just
Groundhog Day.
change it to Groundhog Day. We'll get into the name. We'll get into the relevance of that. But Matt ended up hearing what we did, and he realized, I think, that these guys are going to do it anyways. We're such good friends. Why don't we just build on like our friendship and let's play music? And we started, and here we are. It's been a long process. We started recording in September for the EP, and we released a single called September that was supposed to be released by the end of September, and it ran into October.
It was like October.
It was like
10th or
October
something.
8th, I think.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was really like beginning of the month, but still.
We are just such procrastinators, and like I said, being an
Joe
adult,
never.
Joe never,
Never.
Joe. It came out in October.
Fuck you, Joe.
Yeah, right, seriously, such a poser. So it's been like 5 months, and we're gonna release it, and we did it all with Anthony Del Plata, who's a local guy, super talented, super patient for dealing with us, and we just had a really hard time getting our schedules to mesh and getting everything going, but here we are. A year and a half later, we played a show, and we're just now releasing our first EP. But we're proud of it.
You just brought it up. You go, we'll get into the relevance of the name in a minute. But I was honestly thinking that in my head a minute or two before you said it, that I feel like I understand where the name "Now It Comes Off My Chest" comes from. Just hearing you talk.
That's off my chest.
Hearing you talk about the
Right,
band.
right.
Hearing you talk about how you've always liked jamming, but it kind of went away when you got all that
Right.
stuff with the girlfriend and the house.
Yeah, right.
But now it's coming back, and it's like you have this desire to want to jam.
Yeah, I
Is
mean,
that-
there's many different ways you can look at it, and now we'll even go back to like the relevance of the name Living Rooms, because the band Down to Earth Approach was a huge inspiration for all of us. Going back to like 2003, 2004, they were a local band, amazing band. Still like listen to them regularly. They had a song called Living Rooms. So when everyone hears the name, they're like, "Oh, you named your band after a Down to Earth Approach song." And while that does have like importance to us, there was like a much deeper meaning. Like there's like as little of a meaning as like me recording the Iron Giant in my living room. There was, me showing Joe some of these songs in my living room. So there was like little quirky stuff like that. But really the deepest meaning to Living Rooms was that like you can all be at whatever point in your life, doing whatever you do, but like where do you find peace? You just work a long day, the hustle and bustle, you get home and you come to peace in your living room, whether you throw on the TV, whether it be Modern Family or Cops or football, like that's where you like come to peace. So like I'm at a different spot in my life than Joe, who's in a different spot than Andy and Matt. We're all in these different spots, but like where we come together and like put all that aside is like in the band. So we named it Living Rooms, and that it's like
that.
I like it a
it's
lot.
like the common
Dude.
ground. It's just where you kick up your feet, man, and that's like music is our way of doing that. So however you want to think we came up with the name, it's really deeper than like what it sounds, or it's deeper than just a Down to Earth Approach song. But don't get me wrong, I mean they had a big influence on us. You got like that Blink-182 that made me want to pick up a guitar, but then you had Down to Earth Approach that made me want to like actually put a band together. So there's so many different ways you can look at it. And then as far as Now That It's Off My Chest goes, so I wrote a lot of the music that we're playing now, and I ended up writing a lot of the lyrics that we're playing now. And since Matt's been involved, he's had a lot more input on melodies and harmonies and fixing some of the stuff that we did that was okay but needed improvement. But the relevance of Now That It's Off My Chest is I started writing lyrics, and now I'm in this happy point in my life. I got this awesome girlfriend who becomes my fiance, who's now my wife. Like I'm in this awesome spot. I got a job that I like. We got a house. Like we're doing all this cool stuff. That's like totally good. But like I'm writing lyrics that it's all like negative. It's super negative. Like I hate this, I hate that, and not necessarily to do with her. Just bad experiences or stories about
Right.
bad times. And like I'm thinking, why is this all just negative? Why is it sad? Why is this like evil? And not evil, but like why is it just so it's just giving off this bad image. Like, am I unhappy with my life? But I'm not. And Joe wrote some lyrics, and as we put it together, the commonality we came up with was that, like, even though we're in good spots now, we all carry like this shit from the past, and like you don't truly get rid of it. And like I wrote it down on paper, and like it made me feel a little better. But until you put it into a song and like you sing that and you portray that, that's when it is like off your chest.
Yes.
So like the commonality of it all is just that we're carrying this weight and like getting it out in a way that fits you best, which for us it's music. We got it off our chest, and now we're in like we can start fresh. So now we're noticing that like a lot of the new stuff we're working on, it's got like a lot more of like a uplifting theme behind it, not like fuck this, fuck that, I hate you, my jeans are too tight, like my shitty band t-shirt,
kill your grandma music.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I don't know if I go that far, but just like dark, like close the shades and cry music. Like,
no, I get that.
It's not that, but like it was still important to us to get that out, and like that's what this EP is. Like the shit that you carry from years and years and years ago, it's just boom, that's done, and now we can move on with the next phase, which is now being content with where we're at and not worrying about the past.
So let me ask you this, because you guys obviously are still practicing. Are you working on new stuff now? Is that what's...
We kind of took a few months off. I found out that Morgan was pregnant. We just came to a point where like we were having a really hard time getting together, working different shifts and having stuff going on. We kind of stopped for a little while, and I think now that like we've kind of we've had a little bit of like a hiatus from all that, I think we're now really going to try and like get back into it and like write some new music, rehearse the stuff that we've been playing, get to that point where we can play some shows and like have some fun with it. And I think once we get that ironed out, I think we will definitely, we got a lot of ideas. I think we will definitely try and like get that going at some point. So.
Let's have a show in the backyard. You guys can set up right on the deck.
I'm so down with
we'll
that.
mosh. You
Right?
think we could? Because I would have you guys over. Like, I'll be like, Mom, Dad,
we
go to
breaking any
Buffalo for the
noise
day.
I'd be down. I think the ordinance is like 10 o'clock. We dealt with that a lot in the past.
More experts on this.
In older bands, not having a spot to practice at. We practice in Ben Gray's garage.
Oh,
we
God.
practiced in my friend Mike's garage. I mean, we were going everywhere because no one had a spot. Man, we were getting cops called. I think it's 10 o'clock. I think 10 o'clock is the ordinance. We could make something happen, but we got to get to that point first.
Dude, that would be so cool.
So
yeah, it would be. No, man, wherever you guys play, I want to know because I want to be there.
Absolutely.
I want to see you live.
Absolutely.
I want to see you guys live because it was March 30th.
It was March
last
30th
show.
of last year. So, I mean, dude, we're approaching a year, and it's
that
in.
was pre-Matt, right? Like
Pre-Matt, Joe's singing.
Joe
we had
was
a different
singing.
bass player.
We had a different bass player. Yeah, things happen. You know, we just ended up kind of going our separate ways for a while, reassembling, disassembling, new singer, new people. And now I think we're kind of at, where we want to be. So I think that we can, I think that if we pick up the pieces, we'll probably be able to, play some shows. And I mean, no one's looking for anything bigger out of this than to just like hit people with some music that like maybe they can feel something with,
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So.
I mean that's what it's all about. Like that's, to me at least, music in its purest form.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just inspiring people,
Yeah.
just for the fun of it.
Yeah, right, exactly. Find inspiration, write some music, and that hopefully somebody else can find like that same amount of like inspiration, or even just a song that you just nod your head to or like enjoy, even if it's not deep, even if it's not lyrics touching you like deep down, just the music and just having something fun that you can like get into.
Now, when we were thinking about having you on, I was thinking about stuff that I'd talk to you about, and you kind of just touched on it, like with the lyrics part.
Mm-hmm.
Now, like I'm obviously not musically inclined, and I'm not gifted at all, but like for me and myself, I've done it for a long time where I'll write like poems, lyrics.
Right.
I write short stories.
Yeah.
I was working on a novel for a while. Like I just like to do that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And exactly what you're saying, like all of that stuff comes from negative parts. Like if you look at any of that stuff, it's all bad stuff. It's people dying.
Right.
It's like people die in my short stories. Like my poems, it's just negative stuff.
Well, it's like
evil.
the happy stuff we'll talk about.
Exactly.
You have no problem talking about the good stuff, but you don't necessarily want to talk about the shit.
No.
Right.
So it's like, what is my outlet for letting out all this negativity, whether it be writing or stories, poems, whatever it is.
And it's just so funny because I got a few notebooks that and I dated everything, and I can literally go back to it and be like, oh, October 18th, 2015.
Right.
I remember that. I remember how pissed I was like I know what every word means.
Exactly.
And I can't even. That's just words. Like we talk in words every day, so we have a good control over words. But it just blows my mind how people can come up with these sounds.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just to use an example, Paul McCartney with Yesterday. You know what I mean? Or like, Van Halen with Eruption, or Eddie Vedder.
What
Kurt
about
Cobain.
Dreams? We talking Van Halen? Like, we talking?
Dude, I like Dreams. I like Love Walks In.
We've had this conversation before.
Today we had
about
today.
old Van Halen
Yeah.
and like I say new Van Halen, but like newer Van Halen.
Right.
Van Hagar.
Sammy Hagar. The Keys, man. Oh man, that was just something. That stuff hits me.
What about Jimmy Page? You like Zeppelin?
Honestly,
Too
okay.
much?
You'll hate me for this, and Joe will never let me live this down. But like it's so weird when it comes down to me in music, because like I literally I like a little bit of everything. Like I like Def Leppard. I like some rap. I like some metal music. I got some friends that are in particular, friends in Ice Nine Kills, and they're just a brutal, talented. I mean, they're just awesome. I'm into so many different things, but like as far as like digging deeper into it, Joe hates the fact that I call myself a musician, but I have zero interest in like older music.
Do you have a few favorite band? It could be artists from any time period. Do you have a few where it's like, yo, this is Colin's jam?
Colin's jam.
Like, I know when Zach wants a
Jesus.
jam, I'm probably putting in the Beatles, the Chili Peppers.
See, though, I think I'm more like that too, in the sense that like I don't necessarily have like even a couple like favorite like go-to things. It's more like songs for me or whatever, like the mood.
Yeah,
I'm in,
certain songs bring you back to like a certain time. Like I still remember listening to some music and where I was the first time I listened to it.
Yep.
Remember listening to like some Mayday Parade and like that throwing me back to like breaking up with like an ex-girlfriend, or like listening to like a song that like I'd play, during the summer, and it just takes me back, man. Like you can almost like put yourself back into that spot. So yeah, I have songs like that. I don't know that I have, like I mentioned Blink-182 and how they made me want to pick up a guitar, and I mentioned Down to Earth Approach, how they made me want to be a band, but like the music that's still important to me is like that stuff from like, the early 2000s and like the Taking Back Sundays and the Used and stuff like that. And like
Taking Back Sundays,
they're still doing it today, man. I mean, it's kind of inspiring to know that like they played stuff that got you so big into it back then, and like they're still doing it, and it's still like
these sound like some of the Warped Tour bands.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
This is all music.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Warped Tour is done after this year, by the way.
Say,
That's like
this
super
is it.
disappointing.
I'm thinking about going.
That's
to
when you know
Salem to
you're
the
old.
last
I'm gonna
one.
have to go. It got harder when I got older because I started working. Like I got a full time job, so I
Yeah.
couldn't just like blow off. It's always in the summertime in the beer business. It's always busy in the summer. Like I was unable to keep going, but I think I'm definitely gonna have to make it a point.
I think I want to go for the last one.
I think the end of an era, right?
Yeah,
Like, you gotta go to it.
absolutely.
They get
I'll
out of
admit,
hand.
I know like bands that have played at Warped Tour. I've never actually been to Warped Tour. though.
We might have
So
to
I
bring you
have
this
to go.
year. We
I
might have to bring you this
Warped
year.
Tour is great, but it's almost like terrible at the same time because it's so hot, it's so dusty.
so
Yeah,
hot.
that's
So
what
many
you were-
people.
Like
That's what you were just
like
saying.
there's so
all
much
the-
music. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's great, but it's just like it is a day. It is like a long day of.
is.
It's like so much excitement and like so much energy. By the end, you're just like.
Well, it's like different too than other concerts, right? Because it's multiple bands. You're going to see multiple.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely. And now
stages
it's like not so much just punk rock. I mean, you get like hip hop artists in there, and you get your hard bands, and you get some
Right.
pop music. I mean, you get like a little bit of everything.
I got a story for you off the air about the time Joe took me to Warped Tour.
Okay.
We'll leave it at we'll leave it
We'll
at
leave it at
that.
that.
Yeah, we'll talk about it off the air.
Right. So
But yeah, no, how crazy is that? The last year of Warped. How long have they been around doing that?
It's like 20 years something, right? 25 years, I think.
Wow.
I'm mid 90s,
Let's look it up.
early
Fact check.
90s.
No fake news here at the spot.
Yeah,
no fake news.
no fake news. Don't rely on me for any sort of like facts because like
But still, though, it's because I just know how crazy when I would always chill with like Red in those days. Like just back in middle school, how many people were like, "Oh no, dude, like you gotta listen to some of these bands." Or in high school, it's like, "Yeah, we gotta go see these bands." It was just
right.
just a totally different, setup, like with concerts and everything. Because it's not like you're going to see one singer or like a couple
Right.
openers.
Oh, yeah,
It's
you're
just-
getting-
it's everywhere.
You get up there and you look at the board in the morning. Okay, this band's playing on this stage at this time, and this band's playing on this stage at this time, and like then you get your two favorite bands that are playing at the same time. It's like, all right, who are you going to see? You go watch them. I'll go watch them. We'll take our shitty phones and try to get like a 18-second video of what's going on. It was a great time.
August 4th, 1995.
95.
So
Okay.
22
20
years. 23.
23. So
Wow.
almost a quarter of a century.
Wow. Yeah, because I mean, I used to work my summertime in college at Darien Lake. So
Okay.
whenever, and
So-
it always seemed like I'd work the day that Warped Tour.
Yeah.
So you see
Oh,
the
yeah.
bands would try and come on rides.
Oh
or,
yeah, oh yeah.
And it makes exceptions, for.
I just remember checking out the schedule before, and then you get there and you see what time everybody's playing, and you're like, "Yo, I gotta be there at this time. I gotta be there at this time. And I gotta be at that stage
Welcome
at this
back,
time."
Zach.
A Day to Remember and Taking Back Sunday are playing at the same time.
Right,
I gotta pick.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Was he gone for a minute?
I think he did. We literally just.
We just had
we
that
just-
conversation.
We just said that.
You're here at the spot.
No, yeah, you were zoning in on.
Yeah,
being
you
at the
yeah,
date.
you were fact checking.
I apologize.
So I apologize. For
We
getting
just
too much
lost
about
like
that.
10 followers because of that. 10 of our 11 followers just left.
Right.
No, man, but it's. I just always found that crazy. I think one year though, because that's always kind of a unique thing when you have like artists like come into like the theme park like that that'll actually like want to go on rides. Like most of the times it'll be a country singer because that's just what's huge at Darien Lake. But one year I think Fall Out Boy was there and we had to like completely clear off
Back
like the
when
go
Fall Out Boy
karts.
was cool. When Fall Out
Yeah.
Boy was a band.
Back when it was before they.
I'm gonna
got
interject
his
just for a
public.
second.
Go ahead.
Because you're talking about Fall Out Boy. I remember I was cruising through YouTube one day watching a bunch of bands from like way back, watching like Fall Out Boy and Simple Plan and like New Found Glory. I mean, some of those bands are still doing stuff. Well, they're all doing stuff, different stuff. I think at this point. And I'm watching Fall Out Boy play. This is probably like 10 years ago, and I'm watching it with my brother Alex, who's 4 years younger than me. So we're kind of in like the same interest in music, but like he's a little bit younger, so not totally like up to speed on stuff. And we're watching Fall Out Boy, and he's like, I didn't realize that they had like a real drummer. And he's like really good. I'm like, yeah, Fall Out Boy was like a legitimate band one day, and you can say they still are, but
Yeah.
Right.
I
well,
just
they've-
lost.
Yeah, they've gone
so
more
much interest.
Did you
yeah,
ever-
Yeah.
They've kind of sold out a little
Did
bit.
you ever get into like 4 Years Strong, Pierce
Yeah.
the Veil?
4 Years Strong for sure.
Now Pierce the Veil.
Not so much because I think at that point when those bands got big, I had kind of like fallen out of that a little bit.
But 4 Years Strong was definitely in that window.
Yeah, 4 Years Strong. I'm trying to think of those bands like in that kind of like post like Blink-182.
All Time
Green
Low.
Day. All Time Low. All Time Low. Mayday Parade. Oh my God, so many.
My
bands.
Chemical Romance.
My Chemical Romance.
Yellow
yeah.
Card.
Yellow Card. Yellow Card's huge. I got like every one of their albums on my phone.
Yeah,
I
there's a bunch of
still
good
play
bands.
them regularly.
Yeah, Pierce the Veil was more like that Sleeping with Sirens, Memphis
Yeah.
Mayfire
Yeah.
type of
Metal,
scream high and
like melodic hardcore. I don't even know what you call it. There's so many different like
Yeah.
subcategories of what type of music is. I wouldn't even try to pretend like I know what it is. But yeah, no, I know what you mean. But
Yeah, no, man.
music.
So when's Living Room's coming out with a reggae album? When you
Reggae
guys going
album?
reggae album?
I think if that were to ever happen, that would be at the hands of Joe.
I was just gonna say you
Yeah,
put Joe
Joe's
as
like,
the
"We
singer.
need a new sound for this.
Joe,
Let's go reggae.
Joe will come to practice and be like, "Yo, I was dipping into reggae. I was dipping into R&B," and he'll play like 3 chords and just be like, "Yo, dude, we're gonna take this a different direction." I'm like, "That's cool, man. You can do what you want, but when we're here right now, like, I think we're gonna stick to like what we know."
Dude, you guys,
Not going into Bob Marley music.
Yeah,
no?
not going into that, man.
you guys just rock, dude.
I don't even have hair. I couldn't do dreads. I couldn't do reggae.
It just blows my mind, like, because Joe's like big brother to me. I've known him since
Right,
I was 4.
absolutely.
So, I know a lot about him, and like one of the songs that you guys have, he more or less orchestrated more than he did any of the other ones, and like I
Enriching
saw that
Universe.
come along, dude, and like
Right.
it gives me chills because I know. Like, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, I know what
Well,
you're
you-
talking about
the
in your
lyr-
songs, but I can picture
Well, and you know the
exactly.
lyrical content. You know
Yes.
exactly, and that was in the song "Wishing You the Worst."
Yes.
And
yes.
or song 8,
8.
as you went on.
8.
Do you want to talk about the numbers?
Well, I just remember it went like 10, 2, 4, 6, 8. I remember it was 10, 2, and then I don't remember after that.
Okay, well, it started with 10. Okay, so we'll explain the number theory here. Okay, so when we first started writing these songs, well, they were written. When we first started like putting them together, we didn't have names or anything because we didn't have lyrics, we didn't have a singer, so it was just music. It was all instrumental at this point. So we got a whiteboard down in the basement. We're like, we're gonna put down our set list, and this is how we're gonna go through our practice. So it was just kind of boring, numbers on a board. So we ended up drawing a penis on this chalkboard, whiteboard. It was not a chalkboard. It was like this 4-foot whiteboard we put in the corner, and we drew a dick, and obviously it had the shaft and the balls. So we were like, we're gonna start from the tip, and we're gonna work our way to the balls, and that's the way we're gonna do it. And it started with song 10, we called it, and it was song 10 because that was the 10th song on this little 10-song demo of music that I'd written. That was song 10. And then we would go to like 2 or 6 or whatever, and that's all we do them by. So then we started writing lyrics to these songs, and we're like, these songs still don't have names, they're numbers. Joe's like, what's the bridge to 2? Or Andy's like, what is a bridge? we get that another time. But so we're going by numbers. We got to name these songs, and we got to refer to them as names because, like, we can't just do this number thing. Like, we got to have some substance to these. So then we ended up naming them. But I know, like, you were there for the early stages where it was just, like, kind of just, like, ad-libbing, trying to put something together. So you were there for, like, the numbers phase. But now we got names.
They would usually say, like, yo, we'll play 2 or yo, we'll play 10. But there were a couple times would be like, they would just say, yeah, start at the tip, go down to the balls, and back up.
And
like,
back
they
up.
would just go down,
and that's how we practice. We'd start at the tip, we'd go down to the balls.
That's what they would do.
And if it was a good set,
start at the tip, go to the balls, come back.
If we made it from the tip to the balls, and it was, like, error-free, we'd be done. But nice. You know what? If it sucked, which it did more often than not, we were going for the balls to the tip. We were gonna.
And then the funny part is, like, they're sitting there asking me, like, well, okay, the first time it's different because it's like the first time you hear their sound. But then I'd go over there and they'd be like, yo, how does this sound? Like, what do you think about this? And I'm like, guys, I don't know anything about music. Like, it sounds great. It sounds the same. What are you talking? How is that different from that? Like, and they're like, all right, yeah, whatever.
But it was coming together in our eyes, and it eventually did.
It sounded great to me the whole time. I mean, now I can definitely know that they're playing better. But like back then, I didn't notice
it's a little
the
more
holes.
refined now, and you know, when you're listening to just music and then you put singing to it. I remember the first time this was even before Matt, when Joe and I tried to sing. So we go from playing just music for like months, and then now we're singing over it, and no one knows what's going on. Andy's listening to the vocals. I'm listening to the vocals. Joe's listening to like Andy while trying to sing. Like, it was bad. It was really bad. I'm to the point where like, this is never gonna work, and somehow it did. It did for a little bit.
I'm glad you guys kept going with it.
I am too. It's a really fun thing.
Cause I jam, dude. Like, I blare September, like, and I'm like,
I
can't wait for the rest.
I downloaded it on my iTunes. Like,
the best part of October was September. That was our punchline when we tried to make it cool because we sucked. But yeah, no, we got it done. We got all our final mixes back from Anthony, and we got artwork done. It should hit Friday.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how did where did you guys come up with that cover there for September, like that artwork?
The artwork. So, so we wanted to release September in September, and then we wanted to ultimately.
It's a really sweet artwork, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. I'll get to that, and it was gonna be a fall EP. You know, September was gonna like hit it off. That was gonna be like the final track. That was gonna like wrap it up. So we did like a photo shoot out near my house, and we took like 300 pictures. We took some inside, we took some cool like kind of promo type pics, and then we went outside and we took some pictures on the old railroad bridge, and we went down into the water. We took a bunch of pictures, and it was going to be a fall thing, so we came up with that for September because it really like depicted what fall was or whatever, and just kind of like the bridge was kind of like thematic in that like we're getting over all this, you know, shit, the kind of what it took to get to the band at this point, and like kind of touched on like what the lyrics are portraying and stuff like that. So that was that, and then it just took a really long time. We listened to a lot. We wanted to change. We wanted to add. So eventually it just ran over, and here we are in almost February, finally releasing it. So that was like, it was going to be a fall theme, and then we've kind of changed our idea since, and we've come up with new artwork, which we think is really, really cool. So that's that. September was September. September was supposed to be a thing, and it didn't turn out to be nearly as cool as we thought. But the song got a lot of really good feedback. That was actually, like I had said, that I'd written a lot of the lyrics. And I don't say this like trying to take credit for anything, but it was just like, it kind of just started as, you know, a thing I was doing, and it turned out to be something that's, you know, a bunch of dudes, unexpected friends, becoming friends, and doing like a really cool thing that we like. And
how much, not to cut you off, but how much like how many of the songs did you write the lyrics for?
So there's 5 songs on the EP.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote songs for 3 of them. Joe wrote the majority of the lyrics for 1 of them, which I helped with like the hook on that one. And then September became the first song we wanted to release based on it was that time of year. Mm-hmm. And that was the first song we pretty much put together as a whole. Those are Matt's lyrics. Those are Matt's, that was Matt's take. We had lyrics for that song, and it was actually called, when we played it before Matt, it was called Bed Sheets in City Streets.
Oh,
and
okay.
the lyrics were totally different, and we liked the lyrics. We liked Matt's lyrics. That was actually one of the first songs that Matt and I did acoustically, like, from the beginning.
Really?
And then it just took a really long time to transpire into anything. So that was Matt's thing, but it was kind of a struggle because my wife loved the lyrics to that song because they were written about kind of like when we had first met in like that big gray area or whatever, like, are we dating? Are we boyfriend and girlfriend? She liked that one a lot. And it was because it was kind of negative, but it had a little more of like a bright side to it. So I think she liked that. And it was like a struggle, like amongst the band. And then between her and I, like, what lyrics are we going to use? And I said, we're going to use Matt's lyrics. Matt's part of the band now, and then it just turned out to be like a great song. And
isn't 2 more or less about her too?
2 is the wall in the window.
Yeah. Well, I didn't want to say the name because I didn't know if
Right.
you wanted
No,
to.
that's fine. The names.
That's the one
We're cool
I
with the
do
name.
know. I know 2 and 8. Those are the
I
only
see
ones I
what
know.
you
Right. Yeah, that one was about her, and that one was not so pretty. The lyrics. She still loves it because she knows it's about her. You know how women are. Whether it's good or bad, as long as you're thinking about them, they're like, cool with it.
They're cool with it.
Yeah.
Right. That one's pretty.
So true.
That one's pretty deep. That one. That's a deep one, man. I dug down deep for that one. That one had been written a couple different times too, and it was actually written about Ben, our buddy, who was supposed to be a part of this and then bailed on us. Where everything's cool now. Everything's copacetic, as we like to say. But we. That song had been written a couple different times, and it just sucked every time we wrote it. And then we took a step back, and then finally one day, the line, "This pain in my chest," literally didn't even have a deeper meaning at that point. I was just sitting on the couch like, wow, I have chest pains, like I ate too much, whatever.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that line like got the whole thing going, and then that turned out to be like one of the first complete songs that we really enjoyed, and that was that. But yeah, so I mean, I had, I did a few songs, Joe did a song, Matt did a song, but obviously going forward it's going to be a big collaborative effort. Going forward, everyone's going to have their input. I don't know, I'm really curious to see where it goes, if it goes anywhere, where we can take it. Again, we want nothing more than just to play music that people can get down with, and
I just
that's it.
believe if you hear a good sound, like, it's gotta go somewhere, right? Like, it just, I enjoyed it.
Right.
He enjoys it. I
No,
think
I'm
other
glad.
people will.
We've heard a lot of good feedback. A lot of people say that it reminds them of that music from like the early 2000s. We've gotten a lot of, it sounds like old Fall Out Boy, and I'm like, well, thank God thank you for using the word old,
right?
Because that has that is a very crucial word.
Gold Fall Boy.
I think you guys sound like Search the City. And then Matt himself sounds like Mayday Parade.
Yeah.
Like
Matt,
his vocals,
he's
like
got a
that,
great voice.
like that Jamie all
does.
over.
Oh,
Had
yeah.
a dream.
The
Like,
grit. No,
that's Matt.
He's got some emotion. in
That's
his voice.
Matt,
He
dude.
is. He's one of the most
You can-
talented people that
You
I've
can
ever
definitely
met.
feel it, like just again, I've only really listened to September. You can just feel like the.
And that's why we
emotion
waited
coming out
on
of
him
his
for so
voice.
long, because we
He's-
were
he's
like,
good.
we knew that he would be like. I mean, we've all become such good friends.
Mhm.
We knew that he would be like the final touch, and like what would really like make us be like, okay, we can release some music that we're proud of. Not like Joe and I just saying, fuck it, let's just do it because we gotta give somebody something tangible, instead of just talking about it. So he's he's the reason we're able to like get this EP out, and hopefully everyone will dig it. So
Yeah.
Keep working hard, dude, because honestly, I like jamming to it.
yeah, for sure.
It's cool to say that I know the guys, and dude, you guys are good. Like I rock
appreciate
out
that.
with my cock
I
out with
appreciate
it.
Yeah,
So I mean,
anytime he's in the shower, man, just.
And it's
living
funny
room
too,
comes
man,
on.
because it started with the
Then I
cock.
start thinking.
It started with the cock on the whiteboard, man.
There you
That's
go.
how it came to be.
Cock-
Here
cock
you
on
are.
the
The cock
whiteboard.
is still important to you, but
Yeah, staying
That's
true to staying true to how it began, right?
How it began. How it began. Yeah. Well, how living rooms began. Well, obviously the cock was there, but I remember Joe.
With a penis.
I remember Joe. I remember Joe coming over for the first time, and I knew that he could play guitar. Everyone can play guitar to an extent, you know.
He credits you though with really helping him improve. He says he didn't
I don't
think
want
he's all
to.
that good.
I don't want to take credit for it. But I tell you what, I found a lot of patience in myself when it came to getting something going, because like we had always like known each other through Ben and like hung out, you know, never like one-on-one. And finally I was like, you know what, if we're gonna do this, Joe's the only guy I got. And he came over with his was it a Schecter guitar with like EMG pickups for like playing like just dirty like hardcore music. And I'm like, all right, well, yeah, we can start with that thing, but you're probably gonna have to get a new guitar or whatever.
He's
and
like, oh, fuck.
he knew he could dabble, and then it for a while things were not going so great, and then eventually it like clicked, and then like, all right, now we can make this work. Let's look elsewhere. And then we were looking for a drummer, and we didn't even know where to look, because I actually had a drum set, and initially I was gonna be the drummer. And then it got to like me teaching Joe songs. I'm like, you know what? I don't want to write music and not be a part of like guitar was always like my first like big interest, and I'm like, I don't want to not be able to like to fully enjoy this, you know.
Right.
So we ended up Joe knew that Andy they went to school together, and he knew that Andy was always in percussion like in school and stuff like that. So I actually had my drum set up in a storage unit because we couldn't have it at our little small apartment that we had. So Joe and I went out there. We were like, let's have Andy come to the storage unit. So Andy's coming out, and he's probably got to be thinking these dudes are going to like just bludgeon me and throw me in the storage unit. He comes out, and I'm like, dude, just jam. And I'm like, we're going to walk away because I'm not going to, you know, we won't stare at each other playing. And he was playing, and I'm like, all right. I'm like, I think this can be our dude. So then we
That's a cool story.
Right?
Yeah, I'm
come
glad we brought that
come to the
up.
storage unit.
Yeah, I swear we're not gonna do anything sketchy to you.
And it was funny, yeah, right?
That Joe guy, wasn't he a douchebag in high school?
Right.
Like, who's he hanging out with now?
Exactly.
Piss off.
It was later at night too. Like it was summertime. It was probably like I don't know, like 7:30, and it was like starting to get dark, and it was just kind of really creepy. But Andy came and he did his thing, and we were like, all right, this can work. So then we actually started, the three of us, without a bassist, no singing. We started practicing. Andy works at Leroy Physical Therapy, and they have a gym, like a gymnasium out back, basketball hoops and all that stuff. And we started practicing there on Sundays. So we keep all my equipment in the storage unit, and then we'd take it there because there was no power in the storage unit. We couldn't plug in amps or anything like that. So then we were practicing in this gym. We'd set up padding around us to kind of like muffle the sound. We did that for a while, and then couldn't find a bassist. Had a few guys try out. Didn't really pan out. Then we ended up, we had Zach Fay. He's one of those guys where I was like, I just hit him up, knowing him through Joe. And I was like, can you play? And he was like, yeah, I guess so. And I was like, well, Joe says you suck, so we'll give this thing a go. So he comes out, and he played with us for a while, and, you know, he did his thing, and still no singing at that point, and then we just tried some different things, and we ended up kind of disbanding for a little bit, you know, couldn't, you know, make anything happen, and just guys came and went, and then eventually, you know, living rooms came to be. So I don't know. I mean, we've gone forward and back, and I don't know. I'm not great at telling stories, but like not chronologically anyway. But it's been a long journey, and I've made that point a couple different times because it really has. And now
I guess it's a good thing there wasn't power in the storage unit. That might be their name. It wouldn't have been living rooms. It was storage.
The storage unit.
Three storage units down.
There you go.
3 doors down.
Yeah, right. But
That's
I
funny.
mean that's that.
Well, cool, dude. Well, we know you got to go jam with the broskies.
Yeah, we're supposed to get together. And
thanks for coming on, dude.
Yeah,
thanks for having me. I mean, this has been really fun to talk about it, and we're really excited for what is coming with the EP now that it's off my chest. It's on Bandcamp as a music platform. You can pre-order it now. It'll be available on Friday. Spotify, iTunes, Apple Music. We're hoping by Friday. It's looking very likely, but some things are out of our hands at this point. You know, we submit it, and we just kind of got to ride it out until then. But we're looking forward to it. We're looking forward to getting back to work and hopefully being able to play some shows pretty soon here. That's really it. I appreciate you guys having me on. It's been a fun time.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for coming on.
For sure.
Living Rooms, Colin Berardini. Get their album. It's going to be great. It's worth it, I promise.
Check it out. It's going to be dope. You're going to find it on all of our Instagrams. We're going to be blowing your feet up.
Absolutely.
Check it out.
Cool.
All right.
Thanks.
See you guys.